Hey everybody, what is going on? What is up? What is up? Hope you are having a good day so far. Happy Friday. Hope you are having a good one. I hope it's happy hour for you somewhere. You're just enjoying your Friday and heading into the weekend. So appreciate you guys taking the time to hop into crypto happy hour here today. Excited to talk about what is happening in the marketplace overall, what's kind of going on, where I see things heading, and obviously answering the questions that you guys have, so that we can make this as as kind of fun as possible moving forward here. So any questions, guys? Absolutely. Hope you are having a great day so far. Hope it's been a good Friday for you. At 5 p.m. we're hanging out. So what is up, Alex? Auditory escapism, Flaxis, what's going on? Thank God it is Friday is absolutely correct. Abso-damn-lutely. And as far as things go today in this crypto happy hour, really I'm looking forward to talking with you guys about some of the price action that's happened so far today, what I've seen happening in the marketplace, kind of where I'm looking at this point in time. And then from there, also maybe taking some ideas from you guys as far as questions that you might have, things and kind of ideas that you might have going on there. So as far as just kind of a recap on the day, it's been somewhat of an interesting day. I mean, it hasn't traded as crazy as some of the past days. We actually had a dip almost. There was one point in time around 11 noon East Coast time. Bitcoin almost dipped down to below 3,500, which would have been I came up against some resistance there. Now we push back up above 3,600. So looks like maybe picking up a little bit of steam. We'll see where things head, what might happen there. But happy to start answering questions that you guys might have and thoughts that you guys might have. In addition to that as well, a couple other points here, kind of going into things as well. I try to answer as many questions as possible. Try to cover everything that I possibly can for you guys. If you have a question you really want, throw it into Super Chat. I'll absolutely get to a question if you throw it into Super Chat. But any other thoughts that you have going on, I try to get to as many questions as possible. But a Super Chat is if you want something immediately answered, I'll definitely get to it that way. But taking a second here to kind of go into some of these questions. I'm seeing questions on Civic, seeing questions right now on Lisk, and then Dash, Zcash, it looks like as well. And going through some of this. Sweet. So I'll just kind of go into a wrap up of today, or a couple things that stuck out to me as of what happened today, and then I can start taking some questions there as well. As far as the majority of the price action today, within the past 24 hours or so, most of the dip really actually happened yesterday. There has been I would say a slight recovery, if not things have kind of traded evenly for the most part. So when I'm looking at this, Bitcoin right now, it says it's down about 1%. Ethereum is actually up about 1%. Most things are within 0 to 5%. If you looked at this a few hours ago, it was actually down quite a bit. But the biggest winner on the day is actually Zcash, which is interesting, as well as 10x. So Zcash and 10x were kind of the two big winners of the Zcash and 10x were the two big winners of the day. Both had a bit of news around Zcash, I believe, had some news around a security audit that was successful, and that one was positive. And then 10x also had a bit of news. I don't remember exactly what it was. I didn't get a chance to fully go into what was happening with 10x today, but I'll pull that up and see what is happening there on the tweets there. But as far as 10x goes, that one took a big spike. I'm not in on 10x right now. It's one that I've respected the team. I think they've been executing pretty well. They've been doing quite a bit of work as far as kind of advancements in marketing, and I've kind of liked their approach to things, but from a credit card space, there definitely is a lot of competition. You have Monaco, you have Metal. There's certainly a number of other ones that are trying to do what 10x is doing. But if you have 10x, today is a great day. Maybe you want to take some profits. We'll see what happens there. Chris mentioned they partnered with Visa, so obviously that could be a reason something spikes 30%. Actually, surprised almost a little bit that if they had a full-on partnership with Visa, then they wouldn't spike more than that. So we'll who knows exactly. I'll have to do a little bit more research there. But if you guys have some really solid information on that on 10x, love to hear it. And going through these, going through some of these other cryptos here today as well. What's up from the UK? Hope you're doing well, brother. Going through some of these other cryptos today. 10x, being the big winner. Gas as well has gone through the damn roof. Gas is basically kind of funny enough, gas is basically as expensive as Neo. So if you're not familiar, Gas is kind of part of the Neo platform, and it's basically you can see here they have the exact same logo. So it's interesting that Gas is basically as expensive, at least from a price standpoint, not necessarily anywhere near for the market cap, but kind of funny that Neo's $18 and Gas is $16 as well. And so Danny mentioned too the SinkFab video. So yeah, guys, if you are new to everything, or if you haven't seen the video yet, I'll pull it up here. But I just had an interview today actually with the guys over at SinkFab. If you're curious about it, it's not a sponsored video. I've taken a lot of the feedback you guys have provided in regards to sponsorships and things like that. So I don't want to, as far as things go, I'm not one to piss off the community, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So this is actually not a sponsored. This is actually not a sponsor. The SinkFab video is not a sponsored video. I did not take any compensation from them. It is solely just an interview with them. And quite frankly, I mean, as far as things go, when I'm looking and talking to potential companies that are ICOing or potential companies in the blockchain, I am just really at this point in time doing things that I think are going to be interesting for me and things that are going to be interesting for you. You can invest or you can participate in the SinkFab ICO if you want in a couple weeks, or you don't have to. Who really cares? I don't even know if I'm going to personally, but as long as you're exposed to as many platforms as possible, you are learning as much as possible. That's kind of what I'm trying to do right now is learn as much as I humanly possibly can within crypto, so I can be as educated as possible. You can hopefully also be educated within the space. But yeah, that interview, the interview happened. Interview happened today, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Basically, if you want to check it out, I had a chance to talk to these guys on Google Hangout the other day. It was a pretty awesome experience. They're geographically dispersed team. I enjoy talking to them. They're doing some interesting things, but the ICO space, as a lot of you guys know, is pretty crowded. So they have some competition for sure as far as adoption and even just from an investment standpoint, getting the investments they might be looking for. A couple people have mentioned OMG. OMG's actually had a pretty nice day so far. So I had a buddy who reached out to me yesterday and was like, "Hey, I might want to dip my feet back into OMG." And he messaged me around like $8 here, and I was like, you know what? I think it might go a little bit lower, dude. And when it went to 7.15, went all the way down to around that range, like mid sevens. And I was like, hey, you might want to hop into OMG. He bought it around 780, so he's already up, over 10%. So good on him. That definitely yesterday was a really good time to buy. I don't know if the market, personally, I have no idea if the market's going to continue to sell off or not. I've taken a little bit of money off the table, and a lot of my altcoins I've kind of let ride a little bit. But yesterday, when the market pulls back, that's when you make a move. When everything is down 10%, that's when you buy. That is, yes, the market could go back down another 20% or 30% for sure, but at the same point in time, there is a really good opportunity for you to kind of reduce your risk and also get in at a discount. And that's ultimately what I'm really excited about as well. So Stacking 9mm mentioned atomic swaps. And if you guys are paying attention at all, or if you saw this is pretty recently, but I believe Charlie Lee just actually did an atomic swap with Bitcoin, which is pretty cool. If we can pull that up here. There we go. Yep. Charlie Lee just did an atomic cross-chain atomic swap with Litecoin and Bitcoin, which is pretty interesting to see. It'll be cool to see how that technology continues to develop. There was the one with Vertcoin recently, and that caused Vertcoin to go up 50%. Granted, that's a pretty small market cap coin, but it looks like I don't know if the price increase right now on some of this tech is anything to do with that tweet, but I think it certainly has a little bit to do with it. You could see here right now when that tweet came out. What time was it? 4:36, 45 minutes ago. At 4 o'clock, the price of Litecoin spiked up a little bit. The price of Bitcoin has moved up a little bit as well. Litecoin has gone up in comparison to Bitcoin. So we'll have to see kind of what happens there. But anytime Charlie Lee tweets, quite frankly, there's typically pay attention to that dude's Twitter, because he moves the markets, whether people like it, whether people don't like it. Charlie Lee has been moving the market quite a bit. So I'll see, what happens. We'll have to see what happens there. But past 2 times, there's been at least a somewhat positive percentage move when there's been mention of an atomic swap and coins. So auditory escapism mentioned. Chainlink has been dipping since the ICO. It's at about 1.5 times ICO. Right now, I'm looking a little bit at ICOs. I'm evaluating my strategy in general when it comes to ICOs, but I think what's happening right now, quite frankly, with a lot of these ICOs is people are getting into ICOs and then they are taking profits immediately and flipping them. Some people in some cases are keeping their profits on the table, but for a lot of projects, it seems like, and even with Black Moon Crypto, BMC, Danny's mentioning that right now, a lot of people bought Black Moon Crypto. It spiked a little bit as soon as it hit Ether Delta and Liqui, and has basically sold off because everybody's been liquidating their shares as soon as they took a bit of profit. So I think that's one thing you really want to consider as these ICOs happen, is people are flipping them faster and faster, and it's something that, if Chainlink might go down further. I haven't done too much research on Chainlink. I was thinking about participating in the ICO and actually completely forgot that morning that it was happening, so I didn't participate in the ICO. But when it comes to a lot of these ICOs right now, they're spiking heavily as soon as they ICO, and then people are selling off, and they're back to ICO price in a couple of days, if not below ICO price. So if you buy at 1.5 times X ICO, it could go back up, but there's also a decent chance that you might be holding the bags on that ICO as well. So I would keep aware of that. I'm not exactly sure one way or another on Chainlink, but the ICO space, in my opinion, is evolving pretty quickly. And from what I'm seeing now, or at least kind of my overall thought process, is the market is getting more and more selective with these ICOs. Getting extremely selective with these ICOs, and there are so many to participate in, but there's so many crappy ICOs to participate in. So if you're participating in a crappy ICO, I wouldn't expect good results now. Like it used to be, and I went out to after my crypto happy hour yesterday, I went to happy hour with two guys that are both interested in pretty prominently in the crypto space, and one particular is very strong in terms of ICO investment, really knows his shit, really has made some good calls as far as determining what solid ICOs are, which ones to invest in. And it used to be like literally 3 or 4 months that you could basically choose any ICO and pretty much 5 or 10x your investment. And then a lot more people got into it, and then it was, instead of 5 or 10x returns, which is outrageous in and of itself, it was 3 and 4x return. Now there's so many people evaluating ICOs, getting into ICOs that there's so many people evaluating ICOs, getting into ICOs that you're lucky if it's gone from 5 to 10x return to maybe 2x. So you're lucky if you make 100%, really, really lucky if you make 100% return on investment with the best crypto. And even then, some of these ICOs that are pretty strong projects and have, good leadership teams, good companies backing them, like legitimate businesses are struggling to even hold at their ICO price. So ICOs have gone in a little bit of a case from like a sure thing profit to you really, really need to be selective with the ICOs you're going to be buying because it's you can lose your money and you can lose your shirt pretty quickly. And I've done it on a couple different occasions. I've learned the hard way, and I think that's quite frankly like the best way to learn about a lot of this stuff is to make mistakes, unfortunately, and to lose money. I did it with an ICO called Credo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. I've told this story a little bit before, but Credo is a smaller ICO, only about $11 million market cap or so, and it has really hasn't done much of anything since the ICO. I got in the second day it ICO'd. Tim Draper was backing it, and there was a lot of like positive press about Tim Draper backing it, blah, blah, blah. I kind of fell in I basically didn't evaluate as much of it, and I turned about 5 Ethereum into 2 Ethereum because the price of Credo, the second after the ICO it hit the exchanges, it was trading like 40% below ICO price. So it's not a guarantee by any stretch. And then you can also see here from a volume standpoint that you want to think about is it is getting harder and harder for a lot of these ICOs to actually maintain their position or to get a position on something like a Bittrex or a Poloniex. That's really, really important. And it's getting harder and harder for these recently ICO'd companies to actually get on these exchanges. Even consider something like Monetha, which is something that I participated in. It's gone from 20 cents to 14 cents. Granted, some of that is with the overall market downturn, but the biggest exchange it's on really is HitBTC, which is not like you have Ether Delta, which is hard for a lot of people to use. Tidex is kind of crap. Mercatox is kind of crap. So there is no Bittrex, there's no Poloniex, there's no like really big exchanges that can drive volume for Monetha. So you're sitting here waiting for Monetha to hop into the train, and for a company that raised 30 something million dollars in 18 minutes, they can't get on it's been 3 weeks about since they've released their tokens, or close to 3 weeks, and they're still not on a big exchange. And so what happens, or what I'm seeing happen, is the longer people have ADD in this market, like I have ADD, you probably have ADD when it comes to the market. You're looking for, there's so many cryptos out there. Like somebody mentioned, I'll get to the Robinhood ICO. I'll talk about that in a second. But somebody mentioned Neo and Gas. Gas is up 100% today. Everybody is looking for that cryptocurrency that's going to go up 100% in one day, and they're going to go to that cryptocurrency. They're going to buy it. They're going to get rid of it. They're going to go to the next one. They're going to go to the next one. With like something like Monetha and these recent ICOs, you buy at the ICO price, and there's a spike. There's a spike initially or something like that, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll hold it. I'll hold it for the long term, and not much positive happens. So I'm waiting right now. I should have sold the Monetha when it spiked up in the near term, right after the ICO was up to about 35 cents, 37 cents, close to 40 cents, and now it's better at 40 cents at one point in time. Now it's at 14 cents. So it's a tough loss to swallow, but it's also, as far as things go, it's always, you have to learn from every experience that you go through in this space. You kind of have to like mark down what you're feeling, what you're looking at, and how things are moving forward there. So, but the liquidity and the lack of the amount of time it's taking even really legitimate projects to get onto good exchanges now is an issue for sure. It's an issue moving forward, because if there's no liquidity, if there's no volume on this trading, they're not going anywhere, and the project basically slowly dies off until hopefully like in a week or two, somebody, Monetha tweets out, hey, we're getting added to Bittrex, and the price skyrockets. But outside of that, that's kind of what I've seen and what I've been thinking in regards to ICOs. So in my opinion, you want to be really, really selective when it comes to ICOs, because unless you're investing in like the top 1 or 2 ICO that week, there's a good chance you can lose your money before you even get the chance to trade it. So that's my thought process on that. Somebody mentioned about the Robinhood ICO. they've reached out to me, quite frankly, a few different times. The Robinhood team has. I'm not really interested in covering them. They paid Jamie Foxx to do an advertisement for them. So they have a pretty, I think, negative reputation already in the space on just on like the whole celebrity crap of like, having the Paris Hiltons and the Jamie Foxxes and the Floyd Mayweathers tweet about them. So I think they have somewhat of a negative reputation there. And then the CEO of Robinhood, which is the actual kind of application they basically took the name of. Robinhood is a no-fee stock trading application that I've used on my iPhone. It's pretty legit, pretty legit there. But the CEO of Robinhood was like, "Hey, we're not affiliated with Robinhood. This is probably a scam." So, just kind of having that negative press, I don't think is the greatest thing for Robinhood, but we'll see what happens there. And guys, I'm getting a ton of questions here about different ICOs and things like that. I try to answer as many as I possibly can, but if you have something you really, really want to get answered, just throw it in that super chat, and then I should have something that pops up on the actual screen with the super chat when when you guys do when you do throw that in the super chat. Have my sweet little Barney Stinson high five gift, so that I think I fixed that. So it didn't work yesterday, but if you want to have a question answered, absolutely, for sure, throw it in that super chat, and hopefully I can help you out as much as possible. And going through these questions here to take a peek at what you guys are asking. So taking a look here, and I mean, as far as somebody mentioned, why do ICOs always exclude the USA? So the big thing with ICOs in the USA is the Securities and Exchange Commission. United States Securities and Exchange Commission regulates securities, and if an ICO, basically a lot of these ICOs are kind of BS and they're kind of crap, and they're basically kind of ways to get around being added to the stock market, and they are essentially securities. So if you create a security in the United States, then you have to abide by the Securities and Exchange Commission's laws and regulations. Which is why that if a company offers an ICO in the United States and it does not comply with if a company offers an ICO to investors in the United States and the company does something negative or whatever, the SEC can go after that company because they're misleading investors or whatever it might be. The SEC can also go after investors as well. They could go after the exchanges. So there's a lot of things there, which is also a reason why it's taking so long for a lot of these exchanges to put new crypto on their markets, because they don't want to mess with putting potential securities on their exchanges, and they're taking longer to do their due diligence and making sure that they're covered legally speaking from the SEC as well. So looking here at some of these questions here. So somebody mentioned, if NEO gets embraced by the Chinese, how high will it go? $100. I think there's a lot of stuff in China for China to sort out before NEO makes before you really want to, in my opinion, consider NEO. I did really well on NEO. I bought NEO when it was Ant shares. I sold it when it really went through the damn roof. I'm out on NEO personally right now. I know a lot of people are really positive on NEO, but for me personally, I'm not back in on NEO until it kind of proves a lot of the regulatory issues around China and things kind of shake out in a more positive way there. So that's kind of where I stand right now with NEO so far. A couple different people have mentioned Civic CVC. I participated in the Civic ICO back in the day. Which was a little bit of time ago, and I'm a holder of Civic long term. It's done pretty well for the most part for me. I certainly haven't. It was at a peak a little bit of time ago, but for the most part, I think it's a long-term hold for me, and it's something that I want to keep a hold on. If there is a longer-term spike here, if it gets back above kind of a certain number, I might potentially hop in at. I might potentially take a little bit of profits there because I have a pretty high, basically. Pretty high investment within Civic, but we'll see how it goes. So a couple different people have people always have different thoughts on NEO. Some people never bought into NEO. Some people bought in at $40 because I'm an idiot. That's a rough one, buying into NEO at $40. Hopefully it'll go back up. I quite frankly have no idea if it will or not. Or how long it might take when that happens. But I think NEO might get held back in some senses by a lot of the China news, in addition to kind of what's going on with China and all the regulations surrounding things there as well. Somebody mentioned, where do I store my altcoins hardware wallet? Yeah, I actually use I have a Ledger Nano S, and if you use a Ledger Nano S, you can just send your ERC20 tokens directly to your Ethereum wallet. So you have your Ethereum wallet address, and then you just send your ERC20 tokens directly to your Ethereum wallet address. So that will allow you to store all your ERC20 tokens. So basically, the vast majority of things are ERC20 tokens. You have 10x. 10x is an ERC20 token. OMG is an ERC20 token. Civic is an ERC20 token. Basically, they all are. So, or the vast majority of them. And then Ledger obviously allows you to hold NEO, or excuse me, not NEO. Allows you to hold Bitcoin, Litecoin. The vast majority of crypto. So I really like a Ledger Nano S. I think it's super convenient. Has a lot of good feedback on the safety and security of it. So that's kind of my preferred place to hold. And I also like my Ledger Nano S because I kind of keep it safe and secured and out of touch, so that I don't always, it basically makes me hold cryptocurrency. Like, I can't touch it because I can't touch it because I can't get to it. So, once I put something in my Ledger Nano S wallet, that's my holding. Like, that's what I'm doing unless I drive to go get it. So it's hidden, it's buried underground in a So Daniel mentioned, do I hold some cryptos for 1 year longer to not to pay taxes? Well, you're going to pay taxes regardless. It's just short-term or long-term gain taxes. So, there's obviously a difference between, at least in the U.S., between short-term and long-term gains. But, crypto is so volatile where that tax, may or may not have a massive implication. If you're going to sell something, if you think it's going to dip, then there's obviously a lot of volatility there. So, but there is, short-term, long-term tax or implications. I would definitely check out. I've talked a little bit about it before, but it's kind of a cool site. Bitcoin.tax. If you ever want to check that out, there's a free version, and then there is a paid version as well. Don't have any affiliate link or anything there, but you basically can just upload your trades from GDAX or from Bittrex or Poloniex or whatever it is, and then once you go to that point in time, with uploading your stuff to Bitcoin.tax, it'll calculate your estimated tax that you owe. So that's basically what I've done at this point in time. The crypto momentum or crypto momentum, never have to pay tax on crypto if you don't convert. I don't know. I think at least in the US, you might be taxed on crypto to crypto. I am not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure. So I do believe you are taxed on crypto to crypto, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not an accountant. And I'm gonna have my accountant do my taxes, but we will see. We will see there. So Brito mentioned, how does the Ledger Nano S know the OMG ERC20 token is different from the Civic token? When you go to My Ether wallet, so when you do that, basically all you have to do is send your ERC20 tokens to your main Ethereum address, your main ETH address, and then from there you can just go to you'll log into My Ether wallet, and you could check out. You can basically check out exactly what. You can check out the number of tokens, and if you go to, let's see here, My Ether wallet. Let's see. So I don't have a wallet logged in right now, but if you go to, if you basically go to if you go to ETHScan as well, you can pretty much see any of these transactions. And see the ERC20 tokens that are associated with that address. It makes it really clear. A couple different people have asked about Black Moon Crypto. For right now, I am holding Black Moon BMC. It has gone down since the ICO. Unfortunately, it had a nice little spike right after it hit the market, was up about 20-25%, even more at certain points in time, but is down below its ICO price, which obviously isn't ideal. So as of right now, I'm kind of holding for it to hopefully pick back up a little bit. That would be ideal to see. It's recovered a little bit today, but it looks like it's recovering a little bit, but I'm holding for it to, at the very minimum, get back to ICO price, but preferably for it to kind of make a nice little increased move. So right now, I don't, for me personally, see much point in selling at a loss. Why do that? I could have just kept my money in ETH. So I'm not gonna sell at a loss there. That's kind of just my overall thoughts on Black Moon Crypto and what I'm doing there. If I do sell, it's gonna be when hopefully if I'm basically gonna hold until I make money, and if that point I'll take some profits and keep the initial investment. So Matt mentioned, has there ever been an ICO that didn't drop below ICO price? I mean, there's been some good ICOs. I mean, OMG was one of the best ICOs in recent memory. If we pull this up, let's see on day charts. I mean, OMG I think ICO'd at like 35 cents or so, and it is now trading at $8.50, around that range. If you got in on the ICO on OMG, you made a ton of money. So there have been a lot of ICOs that haven't gone below the ICO price, but right now the ICO market is so crowded that if you're not very careful about what you're putting your money into, then there is a potential for you to kind of get screwed over. Couple more questions looking here as well. So somebody mentioned, what are my thoughts on leverage trading? Do I use any leverage or do I strictly trade? I'm mostly an invest and hold, dollar cost average type of guy. I'm terrified of leverage. I think that if you are, I would think the majority of people watching this should not be using leverage. I think leverage is a great way to lose your shirt, especially in a market as volatile as cryptocurrency. So I'm not a proponent of leverage for beginners or people that are looking. Basically, you can really clean yourself out with leverage. You can really screw yourself over. So I am not big in terms of utilizing leverage. I wouldn't recommend it for the vast majority of people. I think it's scary. It's scary shit. You could probably make a ton of money utilizing leverage, but you can also lose your damn house with leverage as well. And I don't plan on losing my house at all. So, with crypto, you really should only invest money that you can afford to lose, because this whole market could at one point in time go poof. I don't think it will, but it could certainly happen. It could just fucking blow up and disappear. It can blow up and disappear a lot faster if you use leverage. So that's kind of my thought process on that. Somebody mentioned Veritasium. I haven't liked Veritasium at all. I don't know. I just, even looking like, when you do due diligence on a cryptocurrency and you research it, you kind of go through it, you check it out, which, something I do. It's down 7% on the day, which isn't great. But number one, there is only 2 million circulating supply of Veritasium, and there's a total of 100 million. So number one, what the hell is that about? Number two, it's really not traded on many places. It's mostly on EtherDelta, but I mean, this website is very I don't know. It's just very blah. It doesn't, for being a technology company, why does, I can make a better website than this in an hour. I just don't think that it's, for me personally, I don't think it's that impressive. I don't think the overall team itself too, is not, I don't know. It's not as technical as I'd like. Look at the team. You have one guy who's been an investment advisor, Reggie Middleton, who is, I think, good at self-promotion and things like that. You have a lead engineer, and then you have an analyst who doesn't have a picture. You don't have any advisors. You don't have anything like that. The fact that this is a $150 million market cap, and at one point was up above $400 million, to me is like peak bubble in a lot of cases. There's no way that should be worth $150 million to me. Everybody else has a different opinion, but Veritasium, I wouldn't put a dime in it. But that's just me. Going over some of these questions as well, trying to get into it. So a couple different thoughts on privacy. A couple different people. Somebody mentioned XVG not being great from a privacy coin perspective. So XVG is I've talked a little bit about privacy coins and why I think they're going to be important in the future. I think from just an overall investment thesis standpoint, a lot of people are interested in privacy coins. Monero being the biggest, and then Zcash also having a fantastic day, up 12%. And then there's Nav Coin, and then there's XVG, and there's a couple other ones as well. To that point, I've been trying to do some more research on the subtle differences or the major differences between those cryptocurrencies, so I can pick one that will be a good fit for me personally. For right now too, so you guys have an understanding. You may have seen this before, you may have not, but my portfolio here, this was updated September 14th, but I need to switch it out a little bit. But if you ever want to take a look at kind of what I'm holding, I need to update this to include BMC from the, basically include the Black Moon crypto that I have from the ICO, but the vast majority being, it's actually kind of split somewhat evenly, although I'd like to increase my exposure to Ethereum and to Bitcoin and reduce a little bit on Moneta, and reduce a little bit on OMG and Civic. I think ideally I'd like to see 30% Bitcoin, 30% ETH, and maybe 25% ETH or so. I'm still kind of trying to debate the perfect mix for me, but as of right now, I have Ethereum, I have Omisego, I have Civic, I have Bitcoin, I have Moneta, and then I have Black Moon Crypto as well. Those are kind of where my core holdings are. And a lot of people ask why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? There's only so many cryptocurrencies that you can kind of research and go after. So, it's never anything against, some people might ask, why don't I have Litecoin? I actually have a couple Litecoin now in GDAX, but just for the hell of it. But why don't you have Litecoin, or why don't you have Bitcoin Cash, or why don't you have this? And it's some of them I don't like, some of them I don't agree with, some of them I don't think are great projects, and some of them I do think are good projects, but I just I only have the capacity in my head to keep track of X, Y, X number of cryptocurrencies, and that number is typically less than 8. I feel like if I'm getting above that, I'm not able to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening and what's going on. So that's my that's my thought as far as kind of why I'm in certain things and why I'm not in other things as well. So Jimmy Anderson said, "Why do people say ETH? It's Ether." I mean, I think ETH is easy to say, and then it's also just the ticker symbol. So I just say that. Because it's the ticker symbol, and because I'm too lazy to add an at the end of ETH. So Danny's mentioning, do I think BMC is similar enough to Economy to reach a similar market cap by the end of 2018? Look at Economy right now. Where is Economy? 38. At $138 million market cap, $137 million market cap. With that being said, where Economy is, where Black Moon Crypto could be, I do think that it's possible. If the overall market cools down, that might have a negative effect. Economy is cooling down a little bit. I think it's going to come down to execution and whether or not the Black Moon team can actually get a working product out there, because that's important. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, and that's too. What's up to the people in that 10x Slack that somebody linked to? So thanks. What's up, everybody in 10x Slack? I hope you guys are having a good one. But from my thoughts on an ICO or ICOs, and then just the overall kind of market as a whole, I think that people are going to get less and less patient with these companies that don't have products in place. So if a company wants to raise $50 million, $100 million, $30 million, and they don't have a product in place, they don't have something like investors can look at and say oh, okay, this is legit, this is real, they're making advancements. I think the market is going to slowly just sell them off. I'll use an example of Status. Status right now, basically, I participated in the ICO, I did okay initially, and then basically ended up just selling off my Status later for a loss because I just felt like the excitement in the project died down, and it just kind of cooled off. So and I think the reason for that in some cases was because Status raised a lot of money up front. They raised a lot of money up front, and there are other competitors now. In addition to that, they basically have an alpha application. They basically have an alpha app. It's not even really in beta right now. So only a certain number of people can utilize it. People want to see results, and they want to see results quick, and they're getting ADD within this marketplace. And if you're not able to kind of satisfy that ADD, then it's going to make things, a lot more difficult for you. So Chris mentioned, do I think 10x is a good buy right now? I might personally, it's had a big spike today. It might be something right now where potentially, some people take profits on that spike. I have no idea if that'll happen or not, but, it's always tough to buy. It's not necessarily tough to buy, but, it's up 37% on the day. Granted, it's down, quite a bit from its all-time highs, but it's up 37% on the day. So, it might have a little bit of a pullback up, some people taking profits, but we'll see how that goes. And guys, a couple different people did it yesterday, but like I said, if you have questions that you really, really want answered, I try to answer as many as humanly possible. But if you really want something, throw it in that super chat. And also, even if somebody, I put together that kind of pop up again, and I'd really be interested to see if it actually works or not. Otherwise, I'm just never going to use this company again. But if somebody wants to just throw in, even if it's $1, or 50 cents, I don't really care. But if you could throw in a super chat so I can see if the thing actually works, I'll definitely answer your question as well. But I'd love to see if this actually works and does the notify on the screen so that I can actually see if I can utilize that and start using this, basically utilizing this software a little bit more so you guys can get some more notifications and things like that over the course. But if somebody could just do me a favor and throw in like $1 super chat or a 50-cent super chat, I don't even care. Would love to just see if that actually works. So a couple other, as that's happening, and I appreciate if anybody can help me out there, but as that's happening, I'm looking at some of these questions here and kind of the what some people have to say. Somebody mentioned what's the storage capacity of the Nano S. I actually have no idea. I'm not exactly sure right now. My Nano S is fine from a storage perspective. It's all good. So, well, I think there are. I forget I would just Google it. Quite frankly, Google will tell you better than I can. And so somebody mentioned, how long will I hold Black Moon? Depends on how high it might go, but depending upon how high Black Moon might go, I might take some profits once it hopefully gets back above the ICO price. Brito, I appreciate that, or Binto, I appreciate that, man. Looking to see, hopefully this thing pops up. We'll see if it actually works or not. So I'm looking down on my phone to see if the thing actually works. So and Binto, if you have any questions too, man, definitely let me know. This software is about as this software is about as useful as absolutely nothing. These guys, Streamlabs, you're killing me right now. This is what I've been trying to use. Oh, there we go. There it is. Thank you, Streamlab. Just takes a little bit of time. Okay, we're good. There we are. Thanks, Binto. Appreciate that. And that's kind of what I was trying to make happen. So anytime anybody throws in a question on Super Chat, it'll pop up. Everybody else can see it. Everybody else can get a good feel for what's going on and how you can basically, you can see the question and all that good stuff. So that will hopefully be helpful in the future. If you guys have questions and you want to throw it in the Super Chat, it'll pop up with that as well. So Binto, thanks again. And do I have any thoughts on SegWit 2x adoption versus Bitcoin Cash? I think this is a pretty interesting situation. It's a fluid situation moving forward for sure. I don't know if a fork is going to happen. There is a lot of contention right now with 2x versus no 2x. If you're on Twitter, you literally see people in their profile headline that says either 2x or no 2x. Supporting whether or not they want Bitcoin to double the block size. Bitcoin Cat, a lot of people, so right now with Bitcoin, SegWit is for the most part implemented. So SegWit is implemented. So a lot of the people that initially were either proponents of SegWit 2x or were still hesitant about it, now they've seen Bitcoin Cash go out and do their own thing. Bitcoin Cash is whatever, 8 megabyte block sizes, or 8 megabyte block sizes. So they're like, you know what? If you want a bigger block size, go buy Bitcoin Cash, and we don't need to double our block size. Whereas, the people that the people that agree to the New York agreement, which was some big powerful people, as well. And I think there's some pushback there. So going to the moon provided a sweet discount code at Genesis Mining. Cloud mining is very profitable. Cloud mining is not very profitable. I think it's BS. And now y'all blocked. So, sorry, buddy. So, a couple of questions. Did I get into the Kyber ICO? I did not. I believe they had KYC that was... basically, they had KYC that did not allow for U.S. citizens, I believe. Did not allow for U.S. citizens, I believe. So, it... I was not in the Kyber ICO. I heard from a lot of people ahead of time that it was going to be a solid ICO. It crushed it so far. So good on you if you're able to get into the Kyber ICO, but I did not. So Michael mentioned Ledger Nano S only holds 4 or 5 types of coins at this point in time. 4 or 5 types of coins, but when you consider that the Ledger Nano S, the Ethereum wallets on my Ether wallet, hold ERC20 tokens, they basically hold every crypto out there for the most part. Like the vast majority, because so many of these recently ICO'd cryptos are ERC20 tokens. ERC20 is compatible with Ledger Nano S, so you can store Pay Token, you can store Civic, you can store Status, you can store Omisego, whatever it is. You can basically store any ERC20 token on your ledger. So that's very helpful in my opinion. So somebody mentioned, who is Bitcoin Core exactly? I think it's just when people refer to Bitcoin Core, I think a lot of times it's referred to the Bitcoin Core development team and the guys that work on that. And that's the situation is going to be very interesting. It's going to be something I've heard a lot of quote unquote important people in the space say that the SegWit 2x versus no SegWit 2x debate is going to be a total shit show. And that it's not going to be a smooth transition by any stretch. I really hope that they can figure out what's going on, because I don't want to see 3 Bitcoins. Like, I think it's stupid. Even the Bitcoin Cash split, I think, is confusing for a lot of people, quite frankly. Like, I think that's if you're new to the space, if you're like brand new to cryptocurrency and you're popping in CoinMarketCap and you're like, oh, there's this Bitcoin thing. Oh, what's this Bitcoin Cash thing with the exact same logo tilted 35 degrees to the side? Like, what's going on with that? What's up with that? So I think it's confusing for a lot of people, and I hope that that Bitcoin, the community, can figure it out. And a lot of people have mentioned, and a lot of people have, and kind of in my conversation last night, when we were at the bar, we were talking about, where Bitcoin can go in the future, $5,000 Bitcoin, $10,000 Bitcoin. Somebody on CNBC basically was talking about Bitcoin eventually being worth about 5% of the market cap of gold, which would put Bitcoin at $25,000 per Bitcoin or per unit. So that would be fantastic. Xnoob, what is up, brother? Thank you for that. And the question, what do I think about ICO regulations, if it happens, good or bad? My thoughts on ICO regulation is there's most likely going to be ICO regulation, at least in the United States, I think. The SEC has already come out and said, we know ICOs are happening. We know that some ICOs in the past have been securities, and we would classify them as such. And if we choose to regulate, investors, the exchanges, and the companies should be aware, which is why basically after the SEC came out and said, like, hey, we're not stupid, we know what's going on, that's when a lot of companies started cutting off American investors to ICOs. So as far as ICO regulation being good or bad, if the U.S. pulls a China and says you're not allowed to have ICOs anymore, I think that's bad. However, if the U.S. says, okay, ICOs are okay, but they need to comply with whatever laws or whatever it might be, then I don't think that's necessarily bad news, because it provides legitimacy to the space. I mean, nobody likes regulation. There's scams going on for sure. There's a lot of scams happening. There's a lot of crappy ICOs. There's a lot of people losing money in ICOs. But is regulation ever a great thing? No. And I'm a big boy. You're probably big boys, big girls. You can figure out what's good, what's bad for the most part, and you can get through that on your own. My damn phone is ringing. Hold on, sorry. Some jackass calling from Columbus, Ohio. Sorry about that. But with that being said, from an ICO perspective, I think long-term regulation in the space is somewhat inevitable. And while a lot of the kind of people that got into the space early are very libertarian, very against regulation, things like that, honestly, the more, I don't want to say the more regulation, the better, but there's a certain level of regulation that's kind of required to get more mainstream adoption in some cases, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. So I'm not like, if the U.S. comes out, and I don't think they will, but if the U.S. comes out and bans ICOs like China did, that's obviously bad news. But like a little bit of regulation as far as like hopefully helping to avoid some of these shit scam ICO coins, then that's not the worst thing in the world to help people avoid that. Pedro, what's going on from Portugal? Hope you are having, I guess it's nighttime over there. Hope you're having a good night, brother. And if anybody's actually having a good time with a happy hour, if you're drinking anything, I'd love to hear about it. I'm probably going to go get myself. Right now, this is watermelon lemonade seltzer. It's actually fucking delicious. But I'm probably going to go get myself a nice bottle of, somebody mentioned yesterday, High West Campfire Whiskey, which I've had before. I'm probably going to get myself a nice bottle of that tonight and enjoy a nice bottle of High West Campfire Whiskey. So that's probably what's going to happen on my end. But if you guys are drinking anything good, I'd love to hear it. Also, love to hear what you're drinking and where you're watching from. That would be pretty sweet. If you're in the U.S., if you're in Portugal, if you're in Brazil, if you're in Asia, I'd love to hear it. What you're drinking on and what you're drinking on and what you are where you're dialing in from as well. So why does it lag so bad? Honestly, my computer doesn't have the greatest hard drive. It doesn't have the greatest GPU and CPU components. So I'm saving up for a new computer that's going to be like really beefed up and built for streaming. But that's kind of my if it's lagging, it's because my computer kind of sucks. So sorry about that, guys. So reading some good stuff here. Slovenia, what's up? Aruba. I wish I was in Aruba. I don't know. With all the hurricanes, I don't know if I wish I was in Aruba right now, but I hope you're doing well. Hope you're safe. Love Aruba. Vegas, what's up? Big fan of Vegas. UK, Florida. Somebody mentioned Ethereum, so I will talk about Ethereum for sure. I haven't touched on Ethereum too much today, but I'll talk about Ethereum. Amsterdam, London, rum and coke. I can dig it. New York, what is up from, what's up, New York? I was in the city yesterday, not in the city right now, but in the city yesterday. And Phoenix, Arizona, a little rum and Coke Zero. I'm a Coke Zero fan. Florida, hope you're safe after that after the hurricane and everything. And somebody's drinking some scotch over there. Jojo Baggins, what's up? Coffee. It's Saturday morning. Sweet. So hope you guys are all doing well. Dos Equis, Aruba's hurricane free zone. Good. Glad to hear you're safe. So two quick questions I'll answer. Number one, somebody said, I thought you can't get into ICOs in the United States. You can. Some ICOs will not let you get into. Some ICOs will restrict U.S. citizens, but other ICOs will not. It's really just personal preference of that company and whether or not they think they're going to be open to getting in trouble from the SEC. So if a company lets a U.S. citizen participate in the ICO, not that that's like the end-all be-all of a good sign, but typically if it's a legitimate company and they're letting U.S. citizens participate in their ICO, it's because they've already worked with numerous lawyers and their legal teams and know that they're, for the most part, not going to be deemed a security. Like the conversation I had with the guys over at Jesus, Brendan. Conversation I had with the guys at SinkFab today, they said they're working with multiple lawyers, multiple legal teams to make sure that they are in compliance in the United States. So that's an important thing moving forward. And then somebody else mentioned Ethereum. So Ethereum, I think one of the more interesting cryptos out there right now for me personally. Just the overall kind of approach that they're taking in a lot of respects. There's a lot of people that love Ethereum. There's a lot of people that don't love Ethereum. It kind of is what it is on that front. We'll pull up the last week. Ethereum is obviously taking a little bit of a dip over the past week or so. Chilling at 264. It's had a decent day actually, recovering from down at 250, 255, 254. So it's up quite a bit today, recovering a little bit from its lows. As far as things go from Ethereum's perspective, this is, in my opinion, Ethereum is one of those cryptos where it's very much driven on on technical advancements. Ethereum is really only as good as the technology, quite frankly. Like Bitcoin is a store of value. Bitcoin, there's issues with scalability. There's transaction fees, whatever. But for the most part, people buy people buy and hold Bitcoin because they think it's going to just appreciate long term and it's going to go way up in value. Ethereum is this whole other kind of beast of, this decentralized platform for ICOs, for decentralized applications, for decentralized identity management, smart contracts, all this type of crazy stuff. All this type of crazy stuff as well. With that being said, if Ethereum can execute on the technical kind of advancements that they have going forward, I think the price is going to go back to the highs of 400 and go above that. For me personally, somebody mentioned, what do I think of Radium? Not Radium. So I don't know if that was referring to Raiden, but Raiden is actually, it's a little bit strange, but Raiden's having an ICO for their scaling. Basically, Raiden is implementing a scaling solution for Ethereum to help with that. They're running an ICO on that. In addition to that, Metropolis, there's a non-contentious hard fork of Ethereum with Metropolis, and that actually, I believe, just got pushed back about a week from October 9th to mid-October. That's going to be a time that I think you're really going to want to pay attention to and see how that moves, because if Ethereum can prove it can scale, that's going to be big news for a lot of people, in my opinion. That's going to be something that you're going to want to keep an eye on. If Ethereum can really prove out that it has a strong ability to scale, then I would certainly check that out. But yeah, I've seen official Bass Merchant. I've seen definitely some pushback and some ridicule in terms of the Raiden ICO and the Raiden setup there. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting what effect that might have on Ethereum, what effect that might have on the Ethereum market cap. But there's a lot of people kind of ripping that apart as well. So Brennan Peterson, syndicator ICO, should I put in the max 2,500? I mean, that's definitely up to you. I'm not participating in this syndicator ICO. What do I got here? So syndicator ICO. I think it's an interesting project. For me, I can't participate in it because, as you can see here, I mean, you could certainly VPN if I could throw on TunnelBear and show this to you if I wanted to, but they are not distributing tokens in the United States, and I believe they need a KYC with your passport, or just need some identity verification there. So I'm not participating in the syndicator ICO, but I've heard good things. So that's certainly up to you. And as always, it's always, you got to do what works best for you from an investment perspective. And guys, we got a lot of, definitely 250 or so people here. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I would really, really appreciate that. I do daily recorded videos on cryptocurrency, and then I do these crypto live happy hours where I just try and hop in here, talk about what's happening in the world of cryptocurrency, what I'm seeing on a daily basis, and just trying to interact, have fun with you guys, and have a good time kind of moving forward. So if you are new, hit that subscribe button, and then if you are subscribed or you are doing that right now, hit the little notify button, the little bell next to it as well, so you can get notified when I do go live. I usually try to give you a little bit of a heads up on Twitter. If you guys are if you're not following me on Twitter yet, I'll throw a little link in here for you. If you're not following me on Twitter, just shoot me over a follow there. And I try to share as much kind of good info as possible about what some of the things that are happening in the space, as well as when my latest videos happen as well. And so Crypto Spark, thanks for that like button, bro. Appreciate that. Danny mentioned, what is the best place to put my money if I want to turn $1 into 100 bagillion zillion dollars? Well, that's actually kind of funny because as far as this goes, so there's an advertisement here. It's all over the place. And so this guy's an author, a very popular podcast, James Altucher. I'm not loving his new way of going about things. He is advertising really, really heavily about his secrets of turning $100 into $1 million, or enough to retire off of. So for me personally, I think that's really irresponsible. I don't know about you guys, but obviously there's a lot of opportunity for gains in cryptocurrency. There is a ton of opportunity for gains in cryptocurrency for sure. And you can turn out, people that bought Bitcoin 4 years ago turned $100 into $1 million, whatever it might be. But at that point in time, number one, that time has passed. Not saying that it won't happen again, but right now that time has passed. But, promising or leading people on with those type of returns to sell a course to them is just complete and utter BS. So it's just so irresponsible in my opinion. And it's going to, there's a lot of people that are getting into crypto, and maybe you guys have, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these advertisements. They've literally been all over Facebook. They've been in the Facebook ad platform as well. But it's like he had his first post about Bitcoin literally in August, and now he's a cryptocurrency expert. And not saying that my first videos on this channel my first videos on this channel were in August, but I'm also not telling you guys that I can teach you how to turn $100 into $1 million or $100 to retirement. That's something I think is quite irresponsible for a lot of people. So who knows? So a couple different people mentioned, what is my outlook on Moneta product-wise? I understand I'm waiting for more exchanges, but long-term outlook. I think that for me personally with Moneta, when I'm looking at Moneta, I'm just waiting for, Danny mentioned Tai Lopez. I'm waiting for Tai Lopez to drop knowledge on this industry and start talking about how you can become a cryptocurrency millionaire. So Tai Lopez, my man. But going to Moneta. I mean, I like what the Moneta team is doing. Quite frankly, I think that they've for the most part been, in my opinion, they've run a pretty smooth show so far. I feel like they understand the game. They understand kind of the environment. They post update videos on YouTube. They seem to be pretty transparent. Granted, that doesn't necessarily mean they're executing on a product, but they've announced partnerships with actual companies. And this is, in some cases, basically a direct competitor to Omise Go, to OMG. And it's almost the case of kind of what I'm thinking about with Black Moon Crypto and Economy. Although Economy is much smaller, Moneta is at $31 million right now in market cap. If Moneta can go to a tenth of what OMG is, I'm making a decent amount of money. So that's kind of my thought process there, is that I'm looking at Moneta as competing directly against Omise Go. If they're able to announce a decent partnership, if they're able to announce larger partnerships, if they're able to execute on their vision, I think that Moneta has a pretty solid chance to be a top 50 cryptocurrency, in my opinion. And that's kind of what I'm holding on to. I'd like to see them get added to a larger exchange, and I'd also like to see them kind of execute on putting together working products and really advancing things forward as much as possible. So I know we might still have a couple of different people. Number of people are mentioning 10x obviously now. I think people from the Slack, and then also from just the big move today, up 36%. Does anybody actually in the chat actually have a 10x card? They were not in the U.S. They were not in the U.S. as of now, at least as of now. So I don't have a 10x card, but I'd love to hear if anybody has a 10x card as well, and how their experience has been utilizing that. So somebody mentioned Filecoin, and I think Filecoin is a really interesting, somewhat like case study. So there's two things. You search Filecoin, the first thing that comes up is Filecoin. The second thing is the analysis Filecoin doesn't want you to read. So I would check out that. But so Filecoin got a ton of press. It's basically Filecoin is backed by big dogs. It was only open to accredited investors. it was only open to accredited investors. So that means that you had to, within the U.S., you had to reach, basically you had to be over 200,000 in you had to have a certain number of assets, or you had to make a certain amount of money. And with that being said, the cap was quite large, and there were also a lot of like pre-money investors. So there were a lot of people that invested in it, that invested within the cryptocurrency. But with that being said, you can see here too, and I tend to agree with this. The token economy, Filecoin going for a $700+ million raise is nuts, and then the Filecoin Foundation keeping twice the number of coins that the investors will get. And then lastly, they gave really good deals to the people up front. So they had a number of people, I can pull this up here, but they had a number of investors, everybody from Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, Winklevoss Capital, like those are big dogs. Like those are not small. Those are legitimate top VC firms. But the percentage of money that, even if you were able to get into it, the percentage of money that they were giving to investors was pretty damn small. So just wasn't a fan. And even when Filecoin does hit the market, I think it's going to dip quite a bit. Personally, in my opinion, I think Filecoin is going to dip, just because I think that the capital is sold. Basically, the terms and the market cap are so high that it's going to be pretty tough. Crypto Spark, what's up? Appreciate that, man. Hitting the like button. Thank you so much for that, brother. And that's one thing too is, I think you guys are going to see that as well with some of these ICOs, but even like the Kin ICO. So the Kin ICO had a super aggressive valuation, and it took a while for the Kin ICO to sell out. And that's something that I think some of these, there was a point in time where basically anybody would throw anything at, freaking anything at some of these ICOs, whether they were asking for $10 million or, $100 million. Now people are like, wait, you want to raise money at a, $200 million valuation, you'll have a product? You want to raise money at a freaking $1 billion valuation, you'll have a product? Like, get the hell out of here. And I think that's something that you're seeing right now with a lot of these cryptocurrencies, or with a lot of these ICOs, is that people are getting ICO fatigue in a lot of respect. And they're also getting more and more wary about they're learning as ICOs go on about, like, this ICO did this and it went down. This ICO did this and it went up. And they're able to kind of figure out, just because, they're asking for a lot of money, or just because they have an existing product or something like that, doesn't necessarily make it a good ICO. So that's my thoughts there. So KYC on Kin, yeah, but I don't think that's the only reason why that took so long to sell out. I think that, Kin by Kick, the ICO, had a huge, how much money did they raise? Let's see. They were going to raise you can see here, $125 million in an ICO. $125 million on top of the $50 million that they already raised from basically pre-sale investors, which was Pantera Capital and a couple other investors. So, in my mind, does that company, does Kin, I know they have a product. I know they have, a product that does fairly well already, but do you really need to raise $175 million through an ICO? I don't know. Seems a little bit aggressive to me, and I think a lot of other people kind of balked at that idea as well, and that's why it took took a number of days for that product and that ICO to actually close out. So that's my thoughts on that kind of going forward. Outside of that, guys, though, I do really appreciate everybody's time tonight. Hit that subscribe button if you are new here. If you are new to the channel, I really do appreciate your time, and I appreciate everybody, all the subscribers' time as well. Hit that notify button and hit that like button too. But thank you so much for your time, guys, tonight. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna get some dinner. I'm gonna enjoy my Friday night. I hope you guys, whether it's Friday or where day, night, wherever you might be in the world, I hope you're enjoying things and having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for your time. If you ever need anything, please let me know. I'm very happy to try and